Happy Thursday, guys. Tiffany here for our Back to Basics Planks class. This is not so much a workout, but just like an informative video, just showing you the basics of our plank position, which we use in a lot of exercises. So let me adjust this camera and then we'll get started. All right, so guys, planking is really great for your core. It's great for building arm strength as well as increasing your shoulder strength, building your glutes. This is honestly a full body position that you have to contract all of your muscles to be able to create that plank form. So when we think plank, we think of like a straight board of wood or something. We want something that's rigid, something you can, put a plate on and it's not going to go anywhere. So this helps with stabilization of your muscles. This helps with strengthening your joint muscles, the smaller muscles that we use throughout a lot of our exercises. And it's just an all-around great position to learn. So first, the biggest thing is that we have to be mindful of a head to toe position for our plank. So we're going to just kind of go through each body part and just show where it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to feel and everything, and show what wrong looks like so that you can build on having a better position and form for your plank. So first things first, plank, a lot of people think, oh, this is just, core and arms that you're working, but your legs are included too. So we'll start from the top. Hands. Hands need to be out, fingers spread apart, so you can use all parts of those fingers for your support. You want to make sure that your wrists are lined up with your shoulders. So we don't want to be doing planks like this, where our hands are all the way far apart, and we don't want to be over our wrists where they're not lined up. So having that alignment is going to make a huge difference. That way you can press into those fingers and you can build that strength and that contraction up through your shoulder to push through for that plank. So we've got that with our hands. We're gripping with our fingers too. So our fingers are going to be gripping on the ground too. So we're not just like there, just like our hands are just chilling. Our fingers are gripping into the ground, almost like we're trying to grab the ground with our hands. And we're pushing into the ball of our hand as well as our wrist. So we're not just leaving all the pressure onto our wrists, because that will cause injury and discomfort as well. So keeping that wrist right underneath that shoulder, we're going to keep both of them in line. So that just keeps you stable here. So a lot of people, they get into a plank and they're just chilling, their head's just chilling, they're kind of just relaxing. We still want to make sure we're pushing through our shoulders. So we're opening up our shoulder blades, pushing through our shoulders, pushing through our elbows, making sure that our elbows the inside of our elbows are facing forward too. That helps us to maintain, especially when we're doing push-ups, that helps us to move into that push-up position. But it depends on what exercise you're doing, but you can also have those elbows out. But for me, I find it much better to just keep the inside of my elbows turned that way. So you can see, even in this position where we still have some movement. That's joint movement, and that's what we want to create strength in those parts of the body. So we're pushing up through those shoulders, making sure our head is nice and straight. So we don't want it dangling here. We don't want that neck crunched back. We want to have a nice straight line from the crown of our head all the way straight down to our spine. So we're pushing through our shoulders. Neck is nice and long. Neck is also neutral. So as we begin to build in our plank, we're picking the feet up. We're engaging through our core. So our core incorporates our abdomen, our obliques, and parts of our back, and goes into our glutes and then our hip flexors as well. So our core is not just this little, area where everybody wants a six pack. It's a complete system here, and that's really going to help the extremities to build strength as well. So we're pushing through our core. When we're in our plank position, we don't want to be lackadaisical. Like I said, we're pushing through those shoulders, and when we're up on our toes, we want to tuck that tailbone. So you see my tailbone is tucked. So I'm not just here where my back is just like kind of arched and I'm chilling and my stomach is dangling. I'm pushed through my shoulders. I'm tucking that tailbone and I'm squeezing my core in. We're thinking about driving our belly button into our spine. So we're squeezing our belly button in, contracting those abdominal muscles, contracting our back muscles as well, tucking that tailbone and kind of compressing our body. And basically, it's like the more compressed you are, the more stable you're going to be in that position. All right, so we're up, contracted through our core, our legs, we're pushing up through our knees. So when I say push up through your knees, I don't want you to just be in a plank and your knees are kind of just chilling here and you're just like, la, 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 I'm here in a plank. I want you to drive those knees up, squeeze those thighs, and drive back through those heels. So instead of being on your tippy toes like this, I want you to drive back through those heels. And if you have to adjust those wrists so they're underneath your shoulder, that's totally fine. We want complete contraction through the whole body for our plank, because that's how we're going to create that rigidity, create that strength, and build that fire to protect those joints. So we're also squeezing our glutes, we're squeezing our hamstrings, everything is contracted in the plank position. That's why it's called the plank position, because essentially you want to be able to lift someone up in that position and they don't move. Like they are still rigid and they're in the same position, and you can put them down and there's no flex. If someone sits on you, on your back, which do not try that, but basically it's supposed to be a very strengthening, rigid position that you can hold. So the plank looks like this in its proper form. Feet are no more than hip width distance apart. We're pressing through those shoulders and we're pushing out through the back of those heels. So here, if someone tried to knock me over, even if I'm trying to knock myself over, I'm still stable. I can move, I can do all types of stuff. I can lift a leg, I can lift an arm. This is supposed to be a position where you can do multiple movements. So now we're going to get into some variations. So we have our high plank, and as most of you know, you can take your high plank to your knees. And a lot of people think that being in tabletop position is a high plank. This is a progression to maybe be ready to just be able to hold your body weight. So being in tabletop is a great progression into the high plank. You're still pushing through those shoulders and the knees are just underneath your hips to keep you stable. But when you're doing a plank, a modification for your plank on your knees is keeping that back straight. So we're still pushing through those shoulders. We're tucking that tailbone. We're squeezing that belly button in, and we're at an angle. So you can see my body is not in a tabletop position like this. I'm actually at an angle so that when I'm ready, I can tuck my toes, lift my knees, and I immediately in a plank. That's the progression. So we're going from here, from the modification, with our feet untucked, hands underneath the shoulders. We tuck the feet and drive those knees up, and then we're in a plank position. So that's the whole point when we say keep your back straight. If your back is not straight in this position, we want you to include those hips in that position, walking those knees behind you, keeping that back straight, neutral spine. That way, when you're ready and you have enough arm strength and your legs are strong enough, you just drive those knees up and you're immediately in a plank. Okay, so we have the low plank as well, which is basically just on our elbows. So for that low plank position, we want to make sure our elbows are in line with our shoulders. And some people do their hands together, clasped, interlocking fingers, or you can do your plank where your arms are just straight out, kind of like in a Sphinx position, and you're in that plank. Same thing here. The only thing that's different is now you're on your elbows, really pushing through those shoulders, holding on, and the lower, a lot of people are up here in their plank, but the goal is to have a straight body. Look just like this. And you might shake a little bit, but as long as you're keeping everything contracted, you're still in a powerful, rigid position. And then when you come down for your modification, that's the same thing. You can see I was just up with my knees, and now I'm down with my knees. So it's a quick transition to that modified position, just like that. All right. Next, we have our side planks that we do. So for a high plank, we have our side high plank, which is we want to try to definitely maintain that same line of sight with our wrist right under our our shoulder. So in our side plank, we're doing the same thing. We're driving up through this hip, contracting here, pushing through this oblique over here. And we're creating lines, guys. Our bodies are geometry as well, so we're creating lines. And then the modification for this is to just drop that bottom leg, but still maintain that straight line for our plank. And when we're coming down to the low version, keeping that elbow in line with the shoulder, making sure that our leg isn't in front of us or too far behind us. We want to make a straight line with our body and then just lift up for that side plank, or bend that bottom knee for that side plank, keeping those knees in line as well. So you have options there. So, you know, we have multiple different exercises that go into the plank. So we have our mountain climber, which everyone loves. Those are great for cardio. So our mountain climber is just driving our knees into our chest. And that's why it's important that we really learn how to press through those shoulders, because if you're trying to do a mountain climber and you're not stable up top, you're going to be really struggling, flying all over the place, leaning into your wrists, really not stable as well. So when you get ready for your mountain climber, you want to make sure you're pressing through, gripping with all of your fingers. That way, the only thing that's moving is your legs. Everything else should be rigid. You should be contracted through your core, and you should be able to do that. And you can do those as well on your elbows, but most popular is on your hands. Next is our plank jack that we usually do. So that is where we're pretty much bouncing our legs back and forth. And your body will move because obviously you're doing a jumping motion, but you can see that I'm still rigid through my core. And when you're slacking, it's going to be hard. You're going to make it more harder for yourself. You're going to be flying all over the place, and then you're going to just create injury. And that's really what we want to prevent. So after that, we have shoulder taps, which our legs are stationary, but our arms are moving. And this one, we want to make sure that we're not twisting our hips open because it's just for the shoulders. So we're stabilized through those feet, pushing through those heels, just like that. Only our arms should be moving, just like that. So, and then you have the variations. If you were on your knees, you would want the same thing. Really keeping those hips square to the ground and just moving the arms. So we have obviously push-ups are like the main plank position exercise. So we have our feet out and we come down for that push-up, keeping that body nice and straight in a line, driving straight back up. And then for our knee push-ups, we want to have the same thing. This is how we're going to learn to get into a proper push-up with our knees on the ground. We also have hip dips that we do. Most of the time we do those in a low plank position. So we're on our elbows, our feet are back, knees are up and nice and contracted. And we're dipping from side to side, twisting our hips around. Those are really popular. We also have leg raises. So we can do leg raises on the side as well. That's a very popular movement where we're in a side plank position, hands are up, and we're lifting our legs up, really contracting through those obliques, making those hips work. Or we can do our reverse leg raises on our high plank, just like this. Lift it up, squeezing those glutes, really getting a good workout in those legs. So those are some really awesome exercises that you can do in the plank. We also have knees to elbows, which you can do in a regular plank or a high plank, low plank, and a side plank. So your high plank knees to elbows would just be bringing that knee out to the side, driving it up to the elbow. Same thing you can do on your knees, making sure that our back is straight and we're in a lean with our legs, driving those knees up, just like that. And our low plank, driving those knees up. And then even in your side plank position, driving those knees to those elbows. So there's a bunch of variations for this specific position. Really great for core work, even just giving you this demo class right now, I can feel my cores activated. I feel my shoulders activated. I feel the strength of my wrists and my fingers from holding up my body. I feel my legs and my glutes working. So just be mindful when you do these planks that you really want to find your positioning before you just start moving into the exercise, because having that proper form is really going to carry you through and make you make your workouts a little bit easier, because when your form is good, it's easier to get through the exercise, easier to get through the movement, because you're not having to worry about, weak shoulders, weak positioning in your hands, weak positioning in your legs, weak positioning in your core. And there's always a progression for anything. So if you guys ever have any questions or you need any more guidance, let us know. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Back to Basics Planks little class. And I hope you do some planks today. Start off doing 30-second planks, 20-second planks, just to get your body in the right position. And then every day add 10 seconds and get a little bit stronger and get a little bit better. Work on your form a little bit more. Try something different. Work, if you only do step mountain climbers, try doing 10 seconds of regular mountain climbers. Just progress into your movements until you are at a different level, at a level that you weren't at before, and then give yourself a pat on the back. All right, guys, you have a great afternoon. I'll see you later.